Today I was thinking about a verse out of Matthew 25. It says, the king will say, truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me. He'll say to those on his left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me. They will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick or in prison and did not help you? He will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. And he'll say to those on the right, come who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer and say, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me. I think probably most of us have heard of this passage of scripture before. The pulpit of whatever you did for one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. So that's not probably a new thing, but what I was thinking about is how we tend to associate that passage of scripture with charity, with the idea of maybe, giving to the food bank or donating to someone in need, or maybe opening your wallet and giving some money to somebody who is less fortunate than you. And certainly it could be those things. I'm not saying it never is that sort of thing. But maybe there's something else to be said for this. Maybe there's something to be said about the importance of living a more minimalistic life. Maybe we should talk about how if you consume a lot in an environment where scarcity exists, then by you consuming more, inevitably someone else has to consume less. So doesn't it make sense that if we want to do good in the world, if we want to do good for others, it's important for us to focus on being not materialistic, on consuming what we need only, not on trying to consume as much as we possibly can, but in saying, what do I need to be able to be happy? What do I need to be content with my station in life? And then you consume that, and you don't consume more than that. And in a way, that is a form of giving, because when you consume less, you're leaving more on the table for others to enjoy, to have, so that they can have abundance too. That constraint, that willingness to not consume as much as you could consume, is actually a form of generosity, which could be exactly the sort of thing that scripture is talking about. Now, it's easy to be proud of yourself for giving to charity or donating $5 to the Children's Miracle Network when you buy your groceries at the supermarket or something like that. But if you aren't making some kind of a sacrifice, if you're not giving up something, then are you really demonstrating a spirit of service? And by the same measure, we tend to segregate people a lot. We look at folks through the lens of rank and status and all sorts of things that in our minds determine the value of a person. And I was thinking about this as I had a conversation, as I sometimes do, with one of my neighbors this evening. And we're just out there talking about life. And, you know, it doesn't really matter whether I make a lot of money or I don't. It doesn't matter whether he makes a lot of money or he doesn't. We really are just enjoying each other's company out there on a comfortable Saturday night. And then I think about people who are maybe more materialistic, people who are more aware of their station in life. They're more inclined to judge other people. And I was thinking about how those people, the people who judge the value of a person by the salary that they have, or by the rank they have in their job or something like that, you know, they're probably not going to have a casual conversation with somebody who they think of as being less important than they are. So if you look at other people through the lens of, you know, you're more successful than they are, or you have more money than they do, or you've worked harder for all of your life to get where you're at, so why would you associate with other people who are less than you? Well, then how can you really say that you are giving to the least of those among you when you aren't willing to give them even acknowledgement of their existence? You're not even willing to treat them like a human being. You aren't willing to give them your time. You're not willing to give them your respect. So does it really matter if you are willing to give them $5 indirectly by, you know, being seen giving alms or something? See, there's so many different things we can give in our lives. We can give people respect and time and patience. We can give people the sense of being seen and being valued. Those are things that are very important. And we can give by just not consuming. We can give by being frugal ourselves. We can build up our own wealth so that we can then give that away in one way or another. You know, I have this big wooden table in my apartment, and I've had it for quite a few years. And I was going to give it away to a friend of mine because he has a truck and he's willing to help me move some things. So I told him, why don't you take this table, because it's a nicer table than the one you have, and it's too heavy for me to really move it around, and it's just kind of inconvenient to me, but for the right person it really is a beautiful, high quality table. And, you know, I just was thinking about how, you know, that's exactly the way I would kind of hope to handle my possessions. You know, I have something, I get a lot of value out of it for years, and then maybe I get to a point where I don't need it because I would like to downsize a little bit, and then it can be somebody else's and they can get value out of it. Those are the kinds of things that we should be looking at in life, that we use something for a time and then we give it up and we pass it on to someone else who's going to have a good experience with it later on. And that's kind of life, right? It's the circle of life. You take, you borrow, you're a steward of something, and then you give back what you've taken so someone else can enjoy it after you are done with it. We tend to want to be possessors of things. We want to say, well, let me own this. Let me be in control of it. And then I will never let it go because it will be mine forever. And yet the irony of this is we were naked when we came into the world, and we'll be naked when we leave it. And we can talk about giving things, we can talk about charity, we can talk about benevolence, but really it doesn't matter what things you do as much as it matters what comes from the heart. It matters that you truly respect people on a human level. It matters that you consume little and leave a lot of abundance on the table so that other people can share in it. And when you start to look at life through that lens, then you're more likely to stop trying to measure the value of people on a basis of their financial status or their rank or something like that. You're more likely to be willing to give people your time. You're more willing to treat people as equals, no matter what their station in life might be. And I think it's really amazing how meaningful, how beautiful it is when you see someone who might be smart, might have a lot of ability, might have a lot of potential to do different things in life, and yet they still remain extremely magnanimous, extremely willing to treat everyone as their equal. The people who make everyone feel valued and seen and comfortable around them. And maybe if you know anything about people, you would know that they do have maybe more ability or more talent than a lot of their peers, a lot of other people around them. But they never make anyone feel like they are lesser. They never make anyone think, oh, well, I'm way down here and you're way up there. They're that person who just always makes people feel respected and valued and celebrated. That's the kind of a person who has good character, the person who is really calm, the person who is patient. Not the person who can't figure out how to drive down the road without experiencing some kind of road rage, or can't make it through a day of work without either being excited because they think they're better than someone else, or being angry because they think that they've been slighted in some way. I was outside earlier looking up at the stars, and I was thinking about, what stars am I looking at? So I pull out my app on my phone and point it up at the sky so I can see, what stars are out there. What am I looking at? And it's Antares up there, 500 light years away. The light of a star begins to travel to Earth more than 500 years ago, and today, the light that started its journey so long ago makes its way to Earth, and I'm able to see it. And I just thought, isn't that so amazing? You look up at the sky, and it's evidence of the fact that time travel is, in fact, real, in a way. Because all of the light in the cosmos is traveling around, and it never really is lost. It just keeps on going forever and ever in some form through time and space. And we are so small. And yet, even if we are forgotten, even if we forget others, the truth is the cosmos will always remember in some way the record of our lives and the testimony that we have left behind with our lives. I think about how there's another verse of scripture that says, therefore, because we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run with patience the race that is before us. And maybe that is, in fact, the greatest cloud of witnesses, the cosmos itself. As Carl Sagan had said once, we are a way for the universe to know itself. If that's the case, then we should be filled with awe, we should be filled with humility, and we should be filled with a knowledge that whether it all makes sense to us or not, the universe is unfolding as it should. And if that's the case, then we are so small, we are so insignificant, and yet as a human species, we are so precious. It really makes a great deal of sense that we should have a lot of respect for others. We should have a lot of willingness to sacrifice our desire to have an ego for a willingness to serve. But then I also think about how there's a lot of people who don't have a spirit of service, and there's a lot of people who are very ego-driven. There's people who would probably say a prayer before every meal, but they will be cruel to others, either passively or just because they don't think of others very much at all. And those are the kind of people who I suppose we should distance ourselves from. And it's not really because people are bad. It's not because other folks are just evil or something like that. The world does require all sorts of people to make it work. The tyrants and the megalomaniacs and everybody in between. The world needs them all. But we do have the ability to choose our path. We have the ability to choose where we place ourselves. We have the opportunity to surround ourselves with people who are loving and peaceful, or to surround ourselves with people who are aggressive and competitive and often angry or indignant. And the people we choose to surround ourselves with tend to define the kind of people that we are. And that's why we shouldn't judge other people and be angry at them for being who they are. But we should be willing to distance ourselves from them so that we can be who we are meant to be. It's not about trying to change others. It's just about trying to put yourself into a place where you can be in harmony with the right kind of living and the right kind of mindsets. If you surround yourself with loveliness, you're more likely to find more of it. Whereas if you surround yourself with hate and judgment, you're more likely to get more of that. As the saying goes, life has loveliness to sell, so buy it, and never count the cost. Wherever you find yourself, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and best of luck on your adventure. Till next time, thanks so much for watching.